There it is.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing on this evening? This is your girl, Sha Speaks. Welcome, everyone, to my podcast. I just started. It's new, and on Facebook, social media, I've lately been having some debates and some things to talk about, and I'm so ecstatic just to have our guest here with me in the room. We have Marissa Witter. LMHC. We got to say all the letters. We have Bishop and Lady Walker with us in the building. We have Pastor Maurice and Pastor Candace. And I am so excited to just have you all on the live. Listen, I'm going to give you a few disclaimers about this live. One thing, the topic of today is divorce doesn't have to be the option. Divorce does not have to be the option. So I made a post, and it was definitely spirit-led to put that on there. And it was in regard to divorce not having to be the option, but having faith and letting God work that thing out and produce love so that it can thrive again. From that post, 90% was like, no, girl, if you're not happy, live your life, be free. I won't stay in an abusive relationship. I won't be emotionally torn down by anyone. Well, I'm happily divorced. Pretty much, maybe 2% said, well, what about working it out? What about for better or for worse? And today I would love to have the conversation. A lot of questions may derive from the actual post. So if you guys want to see the post, it is on my page. Let's introduce some of the speakers. So let's talk to Miss Witter, the licensed therapist we have on the show for today. And feel free to like, share, and listen. Have your friends come in. Let's have the conversation. Miss Marissa, tell the people about yourself, who you are, what you specialize in. Let go.
She already did a good introduction. My name is Marissa Witter. I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I specialize in addiction and trauma as well as mental health. I have my own private practice. I'm just out here advocating for therapy. I believe that therapy is for everyone and that we should all have an opportunity to seek good quality therapy if needed. Again, you can find me on my Facebook page, mendedpathwayscounseling.com. And that's a little bit about me.
Okay. All right. Next, we will have Pastor Maurice and Pastor Candace. Introduce the people who you are, what you do, what you got going on. Because we know y'all have y'all own business. Y'all are entrepreneurs. Y'all are pastors, CNA, nurse, hairstylist, recording artist. Come on.
Everything. But it's like she kind of introduced it for us. But yeah, we're definitely first serialpreneurs, as well as healthcare providers. we do have our own business, kind of a healthcare hub. So we try to service not just healthcare, people that's in healthcare, but people in our community. So from moms that need help with baby milk or formula, Pampers, all the way to people that's looking to advance their life in healthcare or in education. Our business will help try to sponsor you to help further, whether it's through scholarship or whatever it is, whatever meet the need. That's what we try to do. So we're not just in healthcare. We try, just like, the word tells us, to be there for our brothers and our sisters. And that's kind of what we surrounded our business on, what I went into healthcare for. And of course, as a new pastor, that's definitely, that's an attribute you should have to want to meet the needs of God's people and people in general.
What's the name of your business? What's the name of your book?
It's Integrity Healthcare Solutions, LLC. That's the name of our business. Right here in Gainesville, Florida. I've been about 2 years.
2 years.
Martin Luther King Day 2020. We specifically picked that day to start it, just monumental for us. And the book that we released, I'm working on 2, but the book that we already have out is called, it's the CNA Manual, and it's on Amazon. It's so that you can learn how to be a CNA. All the things they're going to look for, what you need to know and why you need to do it. Like, not just for you to be a CNA, just to pass your test, but why is your job effective? Why do we need to take vitals? What does it matter? It matters because, in healthcare, you don't take the vitals correctly, or you don't do something, you can injure somebody. It can be your loved one. It can be somebody else. Put yourself in that patient's shoes. So the book kind of teaches not only the steps to learn, but why it's important for you to do it. And then we're working on another book, so that'll be out soon.
And then we also do health insurance. We also do life insurance. I'm a big advocate on teaching people, because a lot of times people don't know why we need it. People don't understand the different terms and different things that what you receive when you get these different policies and how it can be beneficial to you, versus you getting something that you're not pleased with, or you're getting something that's overly expensive and you don't fully need that coverage. So it's just different things like that. We also make sure we educate, and it's not necessarily always just to sell something to somebody, but our biggest thing is to educate, to help, and also to provide care to our community.
Before I go to the Walkers, Marissa, where can they connect with you? Because she also have a private practice as well. How can they connect with you if they need your services?
You can go to www.mendingpathwayscounseling.com, or you can just find me on Facebook, Mending Pathways Counseling Facebook page.
Awesome. Bishop and Lady Walker, introduce yourself to the people.
What's going on? Hey, we live tonight. We're live tonight. So I'm going to pass this over to Lady Walker, and she's going to introduce us. Ladies first.
Well, glory be to God. He's getting real flip with this, letting me introduce stuff, and he knows this is not my thing. But since he did pass it on to me, I'm going to introduce him as I would if we were in church, like I did the other day. This is Bishop Lionel Walker. He's the proud father of 8 children, and he is the husband of 1 wife. That will be me. He's a lover of God. He's a songwriter. He's an author. He's also now, he's a book writer. He's an author. He's a songwriter. He's a pastor. He's a bishop. He's all of that. He's a great dad, and he's my amazing chocolate drop, my honey, my husband, my best good friend. And yeah, that's your introduction. Now you have to introduce me.
I got to introduce you.
Yep, you got to introduce me now.
So this is the Tamisha Walker. This is the Tamisha. You hear what I say? She's a powerful woman of God. Yes, she is. I love her to death.
You're doing so much.
She's a deputy clerk of the Alachua County Courthouse.
Come on.
No, but yeah, we just having fun. She's a driver, amen. She's a mom. She's a lovely wife. She drove in the mountains. She drove in the valleys. Praise God, amen. But yeah, so here we are. This is my wife. We are the Walkers.
Woo! Listen, I'm thankful for each and every one of y'all coming on this live tonight. I know that Y'all are definitely going to be transparent with the people, give some people some realness, and something that can help them maybe reevaluate some of the opinions, the negative opinions or negative views about marriage. There is for better or for worse, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that once you hit worse, you just get out and bail out. So for my first question, it is in regards to for better or for worse. And I'm going to direct this to the Walkers. And then Pastor Maurice and Candace, tag up on it. Marissa, if you got something to say, tag up on that. So, and the reason why I've selected each and what y'all are going to have different perspectives. Y'all are there, married, 8 kids. These 2 are married. Then you got the mental health. Y'all done experienced and been through a whole lot of, and I love the fact of how y'all keep it real. So for better or for worse, how do we, another disclaimer, if you are not a believer in Jesus Christ, a believer in saying your vows before you get married, you might not understand this live, because this is the basis and the foundation that we live by and we're speaking through. We're not speaking from a place that we believe that there is not a God. We're not speaking from a place that, anything goes and I just run my own life. We do have a standard and a way that we live. And the Lord gives us rules according to that, a lifestyle to live according to that. And this is to help those people. Just the disclaimer out there, in case anybody wants to lash out. But it's, yeah, let understand, this is for the believer. All right. So when we say our vows for better or for worse, how do we, as the believer, should handle those times of conflict and or disagreements? When we say for better or for worse, as a believer, how do we handle those conflicts? How do we handle those disagreements? How do we handle, I'm just in my feelings about this person today, or this been going on for 5 years and they won't change?
Well, everybody's going to disagree. You're never, ever, ever going to agree on everything all the time. You're going to find something that you have different opinions about because you're 2 different people. I know for us, when we have a disagreement, I'm one of those that I need a moment. And then the next time I may be like, no, we're gonna handle this right now. So it just depends on how I'm feeling. Because sometimes he's like, let's talk about this later. No, I want to talk about right now. So I think you have to know what situation you're in and at the moment of handling it. Because everything can't be handled at that moment. Sometimes stuff has to be put on the back burner till it's just the alone time of you 2. And you can talk about it and say, hey, babe, I didn't like what you said then, or it hurt my feelings how you said it. And it could not be that they intentionally did it. It just came off like, because he'll say, I didn't mean it that way. Well, I was in my feelings and I took it that way. And it was something that he probably didn't even do. But because I'm already emotional at that moment, it's like, well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it that way. But it's different for us. It's different scenarios on how we handle things and at different times and different places. But at the end of the discussion, we're going to come to some agreement, whether it's agree to disagree and maybe table that for months down the road and come back at a different perspective. But we're going to discuss it. We don't ever, ever, ever sweep anything under the rug or just let it just blow over. Because if stuff starts blowing over, they start building up and building up and building up. And now that's a problem. That's a big, big, big problem.
Certainly. I think really in the beginning, what has to be established is that communication. When you know how to communicate with your spouse, it makes those conflicts and disagreements a little more less challenging because you know how to approach the conflict. I think a lot of times because we haven't figured out in marriages, we haven't really figured out how to communicate with your spouse. And so when those conflicts and disagreements arise, then that's a challenge on top of a challenge. So you're basically, because you can take the disagreement, it could be just very small, but if you don't know how to communicate it, it could be very big. if you understand what I'm saying. So I think when you understand how to communicate with your spouse, then you can handle the conflicts and disagreements. And really, and most times, you know when you should deal with it and when you shouldn't deal with it. Like for my wife, if I know, or if she approached me with a conflict, I know, okay, so at this moment, we're going to table this, right? And so since we're going to table this, I'm not going to be in my feelings. I'm not going to have this attitude. I'm not going to disconnect. It's going to be, per usual. But then I know at a certain time, we're going to come back to this and we're going to deal with it. And that's because we know how to communicate. So communication is vital. It's not just knowing how to communicate when times are good, but also when times are bad, especially when you are facing conflicts and disagreements. So how to handle those things at first has to be established. Your communication line has to be established, and everybody has to be on the same point.
Pastor Perry and Candace, what's y'all take on it?
Everything they said was definitely, I was thinking about that too, especially what Pastor Bishop said, is establishing communication. That is like the biggest thing. And just like Lady Tamisha said, when you may have to table some stuff. I know she wants us to be transparent. So I know for me, what I do, if it's even a, what do they call it? Any type of heated conversation, and I'll put quotation marks on it. Honestly, I pray and ask God for a moment. Like, gosh, give me a teachable moment, not a teachable, but like a moment where it's good to say it. Because if I say it right now, no matter what you're thinking, you're going to hear what, I can be like, oh, I didn't like that. And to you, it might be, I ain't like that. So it really, you kind of have to wait until, like she said, people calm down. Nobody's angry. And when I do that, when I say, God, I want to say something, but I know if I say it right now, it's going to be in the wrong spirit. If I say it right now, it's going to be out of anger. Let me search myself and see if I've misunderstood something first, because I could have just totally misread what he was saying. It could have been because of a facial expression or because of a hand gesture. So I reflect before I respond. So when I do that, then sometimes before I can even say something again, he'll come up and be like, did I hurt your feelings earlier? Because you got real quiet. You haven't said anything, for a couple minutes. And me and you be talking. So I'm trying to figure out, did I say something? And I don't even have to say anything. Like she said, if I just table it, because
I watch.
We know each other, like Bishop, like the Walker said. When you know each other, when you are connected and you make sure you're communicating, he's going to know your personality. He's going to know your love language. He's going to know when you're offended. He's going to know if you're too quiet. Even though you might be quiet at 5 o'clock every day, but it's a different quiet when you just like, you're not responding, your eyebrow arched a little bit. Like they definitely know. And I know when he's upset. So I'm like, okay, I might not have said that right. So I might better chill out. Cause let me see. You want to go to McDonald's, babe? Like, then if he'll be like, nah, I'm good. So I kind of read the body language. And when there's conflict and you know that you don't want to go to bed angry, or you don't, because you love each other and you want to, you want to make sure you're not sleeping on stuff, because people are dying. And it's stuff that you didn't even, they presumably look healthy before they went to sleep, and they're just not waking up. So we try not to take any moment for granted, even in anger. It's like, let me take a walk, let me come back, and then I'll pray while I'm on that walk. Like maybe it was me. Like, maybe I said something I didn't mean to. Let me just reflect. So that's what I would say for me. I would reflect before I respond, so that, and use his body language, use those silent, screams, or those silent, things that he does to make sure that, okay, maybe I said something I shouldn't have. And even if it's me, God, but show me how I could have said it better, or tell me how we could fix it. Cause I don't want to go to bed mad. Tell me how we can fix it. Cause we, like she said, for better, for worse. And this probably ain't even worse. Let's just get there before it get worse. Let's go ahead and just, let's squash this. Cause it can blow up, especially when you have kids, children. Mm-hmm. It can get, you can roll over. You can not even realize how you just left something. And then the kids know. I promise you, the kids will know when you're upset. You can hide it all day long. You can cook. I promise you, they know about the music you select while you're cooking. They know when you have something going on. and you try to hide it. So I mean, I probably didn't say a whole bunch, but that's
Oh no, I mean
that's how I know. I read everything in the room before I just respond, so that if it's me, let me fix it. If it's him, maybe he misunderstood something. So I'm just gonna pray, God, will you show him, because you know him better than I do. So you show him so that I don't have to say it, so it don't look like I'm trying to step over my boundaries as a woman in my submission. Like just to be, protocol. I just want to make sure that I said it correctly. I didn't come at him wrong, because this is my king. And I don't want to mess up nothing with the king. Like, I need to make sure, let me get this part straight. Because if I mess with him and then he's supposed to be the head, and then I'd rather reflect and then respond. And then that way it'll be a happy home. It ain't just happy wife, happy life. You better have, it better be happy king to keep the ring.
Yeah.
You know what? You better coin that.
I'm telling you.
Okay. And I just want to piggyback off of that. It just reminded me of the scripture, which is Isaiah, the 1st chapter, where he said, "Let us reason together, says the Lord." And basically at this time, Judah had been doing some stuff they had no business doing, as I paraphrase. And basically God gave them an opportunity to correct their actions. And so I say that even in your marriage, you have to always reevaluate yourself, because your perspective is not always what's going to stand. Your perspective is not always what's absolute or what's right. And I think sometimes I think some people, because they say, oh, well, what is effective communication? Or, we look at, we go back to elementary school, when somebody's talking, one person is listening, and then vice versa, different things like that. Making sure that nobody's feeling like they're being overpowered in a relationship, or nobody feels like they're being trampled over, or making sure that, hey, this is a safe haven where if you're not comfortable about something, or you feel upset about something, you should be able to talk about that and have an honest dialogue without feeling like your opinion doesn't matter, or not without feeling like your perspective doesn't matter. And you have to be able to present that safe space with each other in that effective communication, because it's very key. You know what I'm saying? Because, and you don't want to make sure you don't want to talk to somebody while you're upset and you're frustrated, because then you'll say something you don't mean, and then it's like, or just out of spur of the moment. And so you have to make sure, hold on, God, wait, let me clear my head, let me take a step back, because I don't want to say something that's going to come off and it not reflect my actual feelings or my actual perspective. And so we always have to make sure we self-reflect, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you treat them like the old saying, treat somebody how you want to be treated. Don't treat them poorly or ignore them, or different things of that sort. Give them room to, because we all are still growing. We're all still growing. We're not a finished product. When you get married, that's not the end. That's the new beginning. Because now you have to learn this person. You have to grow with this person. That person is going to change and evolve over the years. They're not going to be the same person you married 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago. We evolve with time. And so you have to just keep that in mind, that, you got to be in it for the long haul. Know what you're getting into, and be determined to walk it out and work through whatever comes. You're going to have good days, bad days, somewhere in between. Some days, both y'all, you never know. We don't know how you're gonna make it in, but then you still have each other to lean on, and you have to have each other's back, regardless. So,
okay. I definitely agree with a lot of what you guys have stated. A lot of people are in the comments. They I mean, they amen and y'all. They are in agreement, and
somebody said coin that.
Yeah, I saw that. And so with this comment right here, I'm throwing it up to you, Marissa. Some people have the wrong idea of communication, more or less how their spouse communicates. This stems from improper examples of growing up. And I think about how a lot of mental health issues, a person could probably, not just communication, but even mental health issues or diagnoses can be an issue in your marriage. You don't realize you've married a narcissist. You don't realize you've married someone bipolar. You don't realize you've married someone with a gambling habit. You don't realize you've married someone who is abusive or any type of mental health issue, right? You don't realize it till you're in the thick of it. So my question for you, Marissa, is what are some indicators of a lasting relationship from a mental health perspective? Because people feel like, oh, they got a mental health diagnosis. I need to divorce them. Something's wrong with them. I need to let them go.
A lot of the things that y'all just talked about the communication and the effect of communication in relationships, like y'all were all in my little notes here. So there's this theory that has developed in psychology by this man named John Gottman. And what he talks about is the sound relationship house. Okay. So imagine a house, literally in the house. On one side of the house, you have communication. On the other side, you have trust. And at the very bottom of it, it says building a love map. And with that building of the love map at the very bottom is you literally getting to know your partner for their cues, their emotional habits, those small things like y'all were just talking about. Really having that solid foundation. Okay, can I trust you? Can we have effective communication? And do I know you? Like, don't imagine a house. Like, that's the building of that house. Along with that are some things that come up, that there are more things within this theory that come up. But the things that y'all hit on about an effective relationship, about effective marriage, those are like the foundations of a sound relationship house in a world of psychology, marriage, and family. Having that trust, having that communication, and having that building a love map. So, do I know my partner? Tell me about your life experiences. What was life growing up like for you? What makes you tick? What doesn't make you tick? What is your love language? What's your favorite dinner? Right? What would you like for me? How would you like for me to communicate with you when you get off of work? Like, just the simple things. Literally knowing the little things about your partner can really build that foundation. Now, I think there's twofold to that question. Along with John Gottman, he talks about the 4 things that he predicts that will not sustain a relationship. And I want to talk about that because I think once I explain to y'all what those 4 things are, he's like, oh my God, let me think back about some of the past relationships or the past experiences that I had that did happen. He's made these predictions that if these things are presented in your relationship and they're not fixed, that divorce can happen at a rate of 90%. So this is studied, like he have a whole institute, like this is like the basis of marriage and family therapy, right? So the first one that he have here is criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. When these 4 things are in a relationship and they're not addressed in better, healthy coping ways to communicate with your partner, the relationship is going to have its issues. I'm not going to say it's going to fail because anything can be fixed and worked on and addressed. But if you have a relationship where y'all are criticizing each other, the communication is contempt. So what that means is, oh, you always mad. You always doing like this. Like being sarcastic, making little smart remarks about your partner and their communication style. You're criticizing them. You're not saying, hey, I remember this particular situation. And in this situation, I didn't like when that happened like that. It made me feel this type of way. How can we address that? That's a healthy way to communication versus saying, you always talking crazy. You're attacking that person's character versus addressing the issue at hand. So when you have those type of communication styles in a relationship, it kind of predicts that, hey, these are things that we need to work on, and these are things that could hinder the relationship in the long run. Defensiveness. When your partner brings something to you and they bring something and say, hey, I have a problem with this, and your first response is to be defensive versus saying, hey, you know what, maybe you're right. Yeah, you're right. I did address this in a let's see how we can handle this situation. And then stonewalling. Stonewalling literally means in the middle of a conversation, somebody could be pouring their heart out and this person just shut them off. They don't respond. Like, hey, honey, this is how I feel about this, and I know we experienced this and we're going through this. Tell me what you think. And they're like, huh? Like, I don't know if y'all ever experienced that, but I have. And when you're in a romantic relationship with someone or in a marriage or whatever, and you're pouring your heart out to your spouse, your partner, whoever, and they don't respond in the middle of communication, you talking about something that's really important, that's called stonewalling. Those are unhealthy communication styles. All those things that I've named are that can affect the relationship in the long run. And according to John Gottman, these things can predict that at a 90% rate, your relationship will not last. So learn how to effectively communicate. Learn how to not be defensive. Learn how to communicate without contempt. Learn how to communicate without criticism, but constructive criticism that addresses the issue and not your partner.
That's good.
But the issue and the problem that presented itself. Because it's a lot different to say, hey, I didn't like how that happened, versus you always hold on now, hold on. that's you're attacking my character versus addressing the issue at hand. So those are just some psychology, marriage, and family-based things that can predict challenges in relationships.
Maurice. Listen, that was good information. That was so good. That was so good. Because I do see a lot of relationships where somebody's criticizing harshly their character. It's like, I'm the closest person to you. I'm the person you're supposed to love the most. Like, you tear me down. And stonewalling, like, I'm trying to pour my heart out to you and you just shutting it off. Like, who else do I run to?
Right.
So, but that's good. Go ahead.
And I think that there's a way to, like, when people stonewall, like, there's a way to have effective communication. And I think Tamisha hit it on the head. I need a break and I'm gonna come back to this. Right? That's healthy. That's healthy communication versus saying, I don't want to talk about this and just never coming back to the issue at hand. But when you take a break, you come back. So all the things y'all kind of mentioned earlier, I'm like, this is good, this is good, that's good. That's kind of like the foundations of healthy, effective relationships and communication. So, yeah.
All right. So listen, we're going to move this right along. I would say lately I've seen the trend of relationship goals. So many people rushing to get into marriage, rushing to get to their big, engagement photo shoot, racking up thousands of dollars for a wedding, preparing for all these things. But what in the back of my mind, because 4 months later they divorcing, so I wonder, did y'all prepare and put energy into the marriage like y'all put energy into these photo shoots, into the wedding dress, into the lace front? So the question I have for y'all next is, why do you guys think, what are some reasons as to why you believe that people rush into marriage? Anybody could take it. You. Why do you think people rush into marriage? Why do you think it's happening?
Social media. Everybody wants to have the biggest, nicest, baddest, going viral wedding and don't even like their partner. But you want this extravagant thing to go viral and everybody talk about you and everybody's sharing your stuff, but you don't even like the person you're about to marry. And I think social media has made people so quick and fast to do things that you don't give people time to know who you with or know who you with and choose to go further with it because you want that grand scheme of things that social media has portrayed. But when all the cameras, the lights, everything is done, you stuck with this person that I really don't like. And you have to like a person before you really even love them. Because I cannot love you, but I gotta like you. And people don't understand. It's a totally different thing with loving and liking. Because I love him with everything, but do I really like him?
Come on.
Because if you like the person, you're going to do everything for him because you like him. I can love you with the heart of Jesus and can't stand you if you walk out the door.
Ooh,
like,
glory.
Thank God he's gone.
Yeah.
So that's why people, they run in social media. That's why people having babies like crazy, because they want these huge baby showers. That's why they doing all this extra to run and post and post and post and post and post, but not giving their life a foundation to actually be post-worthy.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
Woo, felt that in her
conversation,
shotgun.
honey.
My God.
Preach. See the bishop.
Stop. No, it's just being real. Like, if you notice, everybody is so quick to post. And I know people saying moving in silence, moving in silence. Yeah, not really moving in silence. And it's good to post, because posting is a good thing. But when you post, at least make some of it be real.
Some of it.
Some of it, all of it ain't got to be real, but let some of it be real. So when people see you, they can be like, okay, so they posted, they actually live in what they posted, what they posted. Mm-hmm. Versus just sitting there posting pictures and posting videos. And then when you see them out, like, why they never with their husband? Why they never with their wife? They with everybody, but who
they married to.
Mm-hmm. Where your people at?
Where your people at?
Where your people at? Now, listen, if y'all, now I'm gonna tell you like this. If y'all see the Walkers,
come on,
and he by himself a lot at church events, I don't do extracurricular church.
Come on.
So when you see him at concerts by himself, I'm not going. When you see him different places, when it's coming to church, I'm not going. I'm going when he preaches and when he sings. That extracurricular church, I'm not going. So don't say that we ain't together. Oh, we together. We trust, believe we together, but I'm not doing extracurricular churches. I'm not going to do that.
I try to tell people that. Now y'all heard it for yourself. See?
I'm not doing that. I have kids. I have a life. I have stuff I have to do. He'll go to church 100 times a day. I'm not going to do that.
Not 100 times a day.
Right. I'm too old for that now. Child, I'll be sitting on my sofa.
Oh, but we was talking about the social media stuff and why people are rushing to get married. Yeah, that's my take on it. That's my take on it. Social media.
I concur. And you know, I would add, it used to be a time where people rushed into marriage. Used to be a time when people would rush into marriage was because, you know, the Bible says it's better to marry than to burn.
They want to hunch.
Oh.
But you know, we living in but we living in a day and time now where that's not, you know, that doesn't align to that concept, which it wasn't talking about that. But you know, when I was coming up, it was always encouraged, you know, especially if you're courting, you don't have to wait a whole year because we know y'all hot and burning, and so go on and get married. So a lot of people would get married because
hot and burning.
Yeah. So. But now, like, I have to agree with First Lady. You know, it's hype. You know, everybody want to do everybody want to be viral. Everybody want to be big. Everybody want to be grand. When the courtship or the engagement phase of relationship is not solid, you know, and you haven't reached that point where marriage will be the end result, you know, or, you know, you'll be in it for life because, you know, marriage is a challenge. So you have to be mindful and careful before making that decision. And I tell people all the time, just because you're engaged, that don't mean you have to marry that person. You make sure that that's the road that you want to travel and everything aligns to happiness, right? Mm-hmm. and blissfulness.
Yeah. Babe, you'll go check on the food for me.
See?
Oh, they married for real. They married for real.
We married for real.
Okay, I want to piggyback off that.
Right.
I was trying to direct it to the Walkers too, and Miss Marissa, the therapist. I say I'm probably gonna get in trouble with this, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
Go ahead.
A lot of people, as well as what she was saying with social media, sometimes people are pressured to be married because they're trying to be in a position in leadership, or they're pressured to be married because they're in the forefront. And I'm just gonna be real. Sometimes they will tell you Like, hey, nobody don't trust no single preacher. I'm just they say be transparent. I'm just gonna tell you that people will do it. If you're in a leadership role, sometimes they will put that heat on you to say, hey, you need to be married, because that don't look good. But it don't look good for me to be divorced 6 times either. Or it doesn't look good for me to be, and you saying that people should just, because what Pastor Lionel said, that's definitely, and that's different. But when people are putting pressure on people to be married, so that you don't look crazy in front of people, instead of kind of educating them on how to fix their regular life, or to fall in love with Jesus first, so that you'll know, that when you've met somebody, then you won't make some of those mistakes. Teach me how to love me, teach me how to love God, so that when somebody meets me, they don't have to struggle to figure out how to love me, because I know how to love myself. So if I know how to love me, and I know that he loves me, talking about God, then it won't be hard for me to, to link up, because if God and you and God and me, we're going to love each other so much. We're going to ask him first, then divorce is not even on the table, because we go into the Father to get answers before we, just come out with stuff. But I told him, I was like, when he was talking, I said, oh, I'm probably going to get in trouble, but I'm going to say it, because people don't want to talk about that. Mm-hmm. That sometimes, and it ain't God that put pressure, it's church folk sometimes that put pressure on people, and it ain't always the leader. Sometimes, it's laity that be like, ooh, that don't, just peer pressure in general. It don't have to be the leader, but sometimes it is like that kind of put that pressure on you. So you need to just go ahead and get married, because that don't look good. You're shacking, well, then teach me how to live right in that area before you just kind of push me to get married, and then it still don't work out. Then we still don't know how to communicate. We never learned how to look at each other's love language. We never got together to see how his family act, how he talked to his mama, how he talked, like we never even tackled the basics. But you saw that he had a 401k and say, what, baby, you need to get him, because he going somewhere. Yeah, he is. He going a lot of places, everywhere but home. So I don't think we need to get together. But people do that. They be looking at people attributes in their resume.
Right.
But it just don't fit my job description. I can't, but they'll do it, and then they'll be surprised, like, I don't know how. She was a doctor, he was a nurse. Like, I don't know why it didn't work out. Well, they both needed to figure out who they were in Christ before they can even figure out who they could be together. Instead of just trying to push it, because and people will go ahead and get married because they feel like it's that halo effect. That's what I learned in psychology. They feel like the person that's in the reference group has the most sense, and they have the most, they got to know. They so close to Jesus, they the mouthpiece of God. So I know they see it. I know they know what they're talking about. So I'm finna go and marry this person. But no, you, just like he talked to him, you need to let God talk to you too. Don't just be marrying these people and then you unhappy, and then you're in this silent ghetto in your mind because you don't want to talk about it and you don't want to say nothing. And then you have people that end up in therapy calling Miss Marissa because they don't know what to do and they don't want to lose their title.
Oh, we want you to call her anyway. Call her anyway. Okay.
But I was like, I'm gonna say it, and I was like, I hope Bishop Lionel can piggyback and back me up. Because people don't want to talk about it. I'm not saying that nothing about him. I'm just saying in general, like, been in ministry a long time, and people don't want to talk about how people in church will put that heat on you, and you'll be like, oh, do I need to hurry and get married, or I'm not gonna be ordained. I need to hurry and get married, or they gonna let me sing on the praise team. I need to hurry and get married, because I'm burning. Like, no, girl, you better sit in the shower and get you a Bible.
I saw you shop.
And learn how to love yourself, so that, when you get married, you don't have to worry about it. You know your love language. You can work out that stuff with a therapist, with yourself. Love yourself first, so that you can love somebody, or so somebody can love you. And then you don't have to worry about it. But them reasons for just getting in marriage, that was a heavy hitter. I'm gonna just leave it like that, because I was instructed to be transparent with conditions. So, but yes. You have to. Yes, thank you, Pastor Bishop. Please.
No, you're absolutely right, and we see it time and time again, especially in the kingdom, where we have those who are in positions and they're pressured to get married, and here's the sad twist: they're pressured to get married to someone who they are not attracted to.
Yes. And some people are.
And they have a different sexual preference.
There you go. Okay, you hit it. Okay. So
He wasn't talking about they ugly now. He talking about something else.
No, I'm talking transparent,
about,
right?
Yes.
Transparent.
Yes.
So a gay person
There
can
It goes
pressure
on.
to marry the opposite sex when they're not really attracted to that person or attracted to that what you call it?
Gender.
A gender. Right. They're not attracted to that gender. And so you have this conflict. And so people get married, and then next thing you know, you have this pastor who was caught in adultery with the same sex. They should have never got married. But okay.
No, you preaching.
Yeah. Which goes back to what I was going to mention, Shaw, is a lot of people get married because they're lonely. And not only just that, but they're trying to fulfill something I would like to call is lust and a void. Because what happens is, just because you're married doesn't mean that takes away the loneliness.
True.
Okay. So some people, don't even realize they're in relationships and yet they're lonely. And they wonder why it seems like, everything they say bothers you, everything they say aggravates you, because you need to figure out what's within you. You know what I'm saying? Because how can you bring somebody into your world and you become one? Like the Bible teaches you, you lose the two and they all become one of the we's, and you become we versus I. You know what I'm saying? And so, but how can you come together with somebody, one, that you don't like, two, that you in a sense are not even trying to commit to or connect to on that level, and you're basically just you got a roommate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, for lack of a better term.
Sometimes.
You know what I'm saying? And it feel like a prison cell, and then you feel like you can't express yourself, or you feel like, or I've even seen situations where one of the persons in the marriage is conforming to everything that the other person says, and so it almost comes off like that person is losing their voice in the marriage. And so you're overly conforming to what you think that person is looking for, and then you look back 3 to 5 years later, and you have no idea who you are, what's going on with you. You have no idea what you like or what different things you like to do, what you add to the marriage. You're just there. You're just an empty shell that's there. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to make sure that, before you even walk past this threshold, you got to know what you're getting into and what you're walking into. You know what I'm saying? Don't do this with somebody you have nothing in common with, nothing to kind of fall back on. I know one thing, even with me and my wife, like, we definitely had the word. Both of us were like, listen, this is where I've been. This is who I am. Yes, I'm willing to grow. I'm willing to evolve with you. You know what I'm saying? You got to have those kind of solid communication things up front, because you get in this marriage and then you see that that's a totally different person after the 6 months, then and then you realize you with somebody completely different, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you was doing all of this, and then you quickly just go ahead and get divorced, because you didn't take time to get to know the person, date the person, literally, with the family. How are they with their family? How do they treat their mom? How do they treat their kids? Or if they have any kids, what are the dynamics are like, and their everyday living. Because sometimes people move in and they realize that they just, leave clothes everywhere, don't even clean, what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you get in some messy situations, and you're a type of person that might have, something that they call OCD or something like that. You overly, clean, and you're with somebody that's extra messy, and that frustrates, you know what I'm saying? And everybody's not able to handle that, you know what I'm saying? That dysfunction, And so you have to know these things up front, before you even get into the relationship. Do you believe in open relationships? Do you believe in, because some people are doing that nowadays. You know what I'm saying? I don't share partners. You know what I'm saying? Whatever I got with Miss Perry, that's between me and Miss Perry. Okay, Miss, you hear me? Okay, all right. I'm just saying, like, that we're not doing that. This ain't no polygamy. Ain't no 5 wives. Ain't no booze on the side. You know what I'm saying? But you got to have these kind of conversations up front, because there's some people out here, man, they got wives and people that they consider they concubines in other states and stuff, because they travel the road and stuff. You know what I'm saying? You got to have these real conversations, because There's some people doing some crazy stuff out here. There's people out here, oh, you gotta beat me up and all. That's how you show me love, and you know what I'm saying, and not even knowing that is a stem of abuse and different things along the way that you've got accustomed to, and you associate that with love, and it's not real love. I'm telling you, it's some crazy stuff that people will associate, but you know, and I look at it like this, and it's also what you define as a great relationship, because people will sit there and tell you, oh, you ain't in no good marriage, oh, you said she talked to you and this and this and that. It's also what you define as a good marriage, because at the end of the day, if that person is with you every day, if that person knows you know how you effectively communicate with each other, and y'all keep that thing locked tight, it don't matter what people say, because people will try to divide you. People will try to, oh, you see, oh, yep, see, I knew she ain't really love him. People will try to get in your ear and start creating that toxic flow, and you know what I'm saying, try to divide you from your spouse. I'm telling you, people do a lot of nasty stuff out here, because a lot of people don't want to see you happy.
All right, we got a question from the audience.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
Is there a difference between dating and courting? If so, what each entail and how doing them properly help assure a healthy marriage?
Dating.
The difference between dating. Well, you want to go?
No, go ahead.
I would say if I was to just from what I'm reading, the difference between dating and courting, to me, dating goes throughout the beginning stages as well as the end throughout your marriage. Because to me, you never stop dating your spouse. The reason why I say that, because you never want to get to the point where, because in my opinion, I told when my wife was talking about this today, and I was actually talking about this with my brother, because he had asked me, he was like, you know, what's your perspective on dating? And I told him, I said, even when you get married, you still have to continue to date your spouse, continue to keep that upkeep, whatever it took you to win that person, or to I don't want to say win like it was but I want to say whatever it took for you to get with that person and be with that person, you got to continue to do that. Because one thing about it, you know, even like when it comes to just your everyday life, or even if you're trying to work out, you got to continue to go every so many days or every day in order to keep your body right. You know what I'm saying? And so even with your dating, you have to make sure that you don't get slack and lackadaisical just because y'all are married and because y'all live together. You got to continue to keep that upkeep and continue to keep your relationship where it is. Because if not, because like a lot of people say, oh, well, the honeymoon phase don't last but so long. You can make it last as long as you want to. You can make it last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Because I promise you, at 3 years, I'm still there. I'm still there. Because the thing is, you got to continue to date your spouse. Now, when it comes to courting, I would say courting is when you're at the point where you're in the beginning stages, like maybe you're on the break of becoming in a relationship, or maybe that you are just starting and you're in a relationship. What you said?
Urban Dictionary. That's what I
said. Okay, and so in that time, that's what you're doing. You're showing them affection, like opening the door for them, or pumping the gas for them. Oh, I can't speak for nobody else, but I'm old school. That's what I was taught. You show them that you appreciate them. When y'all going out to dinner, you cover the bill. Okay, now some of these, I'm gonna tell you now, some of these young men in 2022, some of them don't cover the bill for women. If I'm inviting you and we're courting, I'm covering the bill because I'm inviting you out to eat. You know what I'm saying? So I'm extending the invitation. Now that's my perspective. Everybody don't have to agree, but I would say when we were courting, she never paid for. Matter of fact, she never paid for none of my meals. And I'm not saying that as in a form of pride, but I say that in to say that if I'm pursuing you, I'm going to show you how much I appreciate you. I'm going to show how much I love you and I care for you. And to me, that's courtship. And that comes with the territory.
Can I give I looked it up while he was talking, and it says to court, because people have different definitions. It said to be involved with romantically, like typically with the intention of marrying. So that means courting, you kind of, to me, you're kind of trying to see are we friends, or are we friends that with the intention of marrying? To me, that's kind of like what we did. That was the first question we asked. Are we just going to be friends? Because we don't even need to go to the boyfriend girlfriend stage if you're not planning on marrying me.
Right.
Because I have a lot, I have children, I have families, I'm in school. I want to make sure that you're not going to waste my time. It's not just you adding a number, like they used to say back in the day, to your black book. That's, and then it says for dating, it says when you're a stage of romantic relationship where two individuals engage in activities together, meaning, I just went on a date, like we just went to the movies. You can do that with I don't want to say anybody, co-workers. Sometimes, she was, home, or she's so quiet at work. I'm gonna just take her out on a date. That doesn't mean that you're trying to court the person. You just went out on a date. It may be just that. A date. You went to see a Marvel movie together because she like Marvel, you like Marvel, and that's all it was. Courting, you trying to tie them down. You're trying to see, you're putting in your resume, you're putting that representation out there. To me, that's the difference between the two. One of them, you're just trying to test the waters. The other one, you're trying to find out, hey, can we make this more? Can we, can this go further? If that's that's what I was looking up, as far as the definition of to court someone and to date someone, because there definitely is a distinctive difference between courting and dating. I don't know if the walkers want to add to that, but I feel like I said, a date, you can go on a date with somebody, that you're potentially like, oh, he's cute, or she's cute. We're gonna go to what is it, Embers? Everybody going to that little dark restaurant, but we're gonna go to Embers and and we're gonna eat, because you can find out at the date if he put his whole mouth on the cup, it's like, oh no, this ain't on this. We don't even need to go no further than this right here, because this is like he gonna drown me from the beginning. So we're not even finna do this. You be watching everything, how he called the waiter, hey, you be like, oh, see, no, this right, he gonna embarrass me at church. So let me, this ain't gonna go no further than this restaurant, and I hope nobody was live or in here with me and saw this. But when you're courting, you've got to know him. You done call somebody, hey, what's his name? Yeah, how is he? Okay, all right, I'm just asking, you asking because your intentions are to take it further, instead of just, like I say, taking them to McDonald's. Like she said earlier, do I even like you? Like, let me see. This is what I see if I even like you as a person. Courting, we done took it a step further. I can actually take you somewhere else, other than Burger King and stuff. We can go a little further.
All right, so
I agree. Our connection keeps going out, but I totally agree with what Miss Perry said. It's the same thing. Like, if you gonna court me, then courting to me and dating is different. If we're dating, I can go out to dinner with you and never go back again and be done with you. But I think when you go to courting, it takes it a step further. Like, you actually want to know about me. When I met Bishop, well, I'm gonna call him Lionel tonight. When I met Lionel, he actually wanted to. Matter of fact, tomorrow will be 6 years from the first time he actually inboxed me. Tomorrow, he remembers this day. I never do, but he does. He inboxed me first, and so when he first asked me out on a date, I'm like, no, why? And then after we went on that first date, it was like, okay, let me see if I like him, if I'm vibing with him versus vibing with him over text messages, because we didn't meet for like 2.5-3 weeks. Actually, let me take that back. We didn't see each other physically for about a week before we started. When he initially inboxed me, and I was like, no. First of all, you're a pastor, ain't with it, don't want nothing to do with it. It's a no for me. I was still in the club when I met him. I was literally getting ready to go to the Elks. It's a no for me. Ain't interested. Don't want none of that. And then I'm like, when he inboxed me, I said, first of all, why you inboxing me? Because you a pastor, you're a preacher, and I ain't got time for that. But once we started talking, I realized we were courting now, and I liked him. Even though we're from different worlds, I liked him. And that's the difference when you get into the dating. It's like, could we possibly? And then you move from dating to courting, like, I kind of like you a little bit. Dating is like, let me get your name, let me get your number, bada boom, bam, bam, bam. But when you go into courting, it's like, you know what? He ain't text me today? Oh, okay.
Come on.
So
we know.
Like, why I ain't get a text? You slow texting today. Now I'm texting you first.
We know.
What happened? I missed it.
He fixing plates out in the kitchen for the
missed-
kids. So he talking about
Being
he
a
missed
husband.
everything.
Hallelujah. Being a husband.
What happened?
We was just talking about the difference in dating and courting.
Okay. Yeah, everything that I used to do for her, she now do for me. Praise God. Right. I used to text her all the time. I text her when I get to work. I text her when I'm on my way home. But she texts me now. She called me now. How about that? Look at that. Ain't God
Lana, we
good.
have a comment in the section.
Bishop got to teach session to single men how to slap. Listen, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I mean, you just got to know. You got to pray. You got to pray and fast. You know.
What he did say is that he had been watching me. I didn't realize we were Facebook friends. I have so many Facebook friends. I didn't know we were Facebook friends at all. And I think I liked one of his pictures. He came up in one of my feeds, and I liked this picture. And then he started going through my Facebook stuff.
That's how we do it.
Well, I mean, it worked. So. No,
Listen.
but yeah, that's what happened. So, yeah, and I was actually hesitant about messaging her, and what I messaged her had nothing to do with trying to get to know her. I was really sending her condolences because aunt had passed, and I just wanted to let her know that I was praying for her. And
Praying for me, right?
I was
praying
for
on
her.
me.
Stop. And Sister Shaw, I still have because in your messenger you still got history, right? So I go all the way back to the beginning. That was 6 years ago. Tomorrow, 6 years ago, October 11th, 2016, is when I sent the first message, and and it went from there. I mean, I sent her the condolences, and she just kind of took the conversation from there and wanted to get to know me. And here we are.
That's the story we're going to tell, huh?
But essentially, you utilized an opportunity to like have a conversation. Because like I have people who will slide in my DMs like on my birthday just to have that. Because sometimes people don't know what to say and when to say it. So you saw she was going through the emotional situation. You went in the DM and said, "Hey, I'm praying for you," just to break the ice, just so she can notice you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. I wasn't overbearing. I wasn't pushy. Nothing like that. It was just a, "Hey, how you doing?" Okay, And then I said this. I said, whenever you get a chance, you can always message me or whatever. You ever think about me or whatever, just shoot me a message. Don't be a stranger. Woo!
Well,
Yes,
listen,
sir.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I have another question. I'm going to leave up to the therapist, our therapist, Marissa. So you hit on it a little bit earlier, Candice, in regarding therapy. I'm going to ask it to her, and then after that, I'm going to let y'all tag along, and then we're going to wrap this live up, right? Is therapy a sign of weakness or defeat while married?
Nah, Shaw, you already know what I'm going to.
Some people act like we married. We don't need no therapy. We don't. Nothing wrong with me. It's you.
Right. And that's a sign of defensiveness, right? So therapy can be good for anyone, whether you single, as a married couple, married in individual therapy. There are some times where you might go to therapy as a couple, and the therapist might say, "No, y'all need therapy individually first, and then we're gonna rehash this back together." So therapy is a good thing. Therapy can be beneficial even on an individual basis level, right? I think we talked about earlier about knowing who you with before y'all get together, and doing those, having an understanding of what's going on before you get together, doing the work before you get married, doing the work in your singleness. Like, that's an investment in yourself so that when you do find your husband or when you do find your wife, you've done the work to know that these are my trauma triggers. These are the things that triggers me, and I have good understanding about not only my past but how my past affects my now, to be able to communicate that with the person that I'm with. So therapy is good all around, and I don't even think it's anything wrong as if when you're a married couple, you're like, you know what, we having a little hiccups here, let's go see a therapist. That's not a negative reflection that you don't have a healthy relationship. It just means that maybe we need an outside, unbiased opinion that will provide confidential support to us in this period. Because therapy don't have to be for a long, drawn out period of time. It don't necessarily mean that something.
And you don't have to wait till things get bad.
Exactly. That's exactly what I want to say. It doesn't necessarily mean that something is wrong. It just means I'm invested into what I'm doing to enough to say, hey, I'm worth this investment. Let's just go have a refresher. And next thing you know, some things might come out that you didn't even think of, because that's literally what the therapist's job is to bring out some things that you may not be thinking of from a different perspective, to say, hey, maybe I didn't think of that, or maybe I do need to address this, or whatever the case may be. So therapy is good whether you're married, when you're dating, when you're courting, right? In the engagement stage, on the individual stage, so that you can have an understanding of that trauma or those experiences that affect your relationship now. Don't run away from it. It's not a scary thing. And I know sometimes we think that it's scary, but it's not. It's not. The hardest part is taking the first step. But after you take that first step and you build that relationship with your therapist, it becomes a lot easier after that, especially if you're transparent with yourself and in your therapy session.
Someone from the comments said the problem is people use therapy as a last resort instead of maintenance.
Exactly. I definitely agree with that. It should be used as prevention, not intervention. Okay, so when you are intentional about, okay, I'm going to get therapy for preventative measures versus, oh, we having a crisis now, and I'm not negating like something's wrong with it, using therapy in crisis. Use it in crisis mode as well, but you should use it pre-crisis as well, so that you have those skills and that conflict resolution style base. You understand what can negatively affect your relationship. You have that solid foundation before crisis occurs, right? You have true understanding of when a conflict rises up. I know not to talk to my husband and criticize him. I know my wife. I know not to stonewall. I know not to deflect. I know not to talk in contempt, because these are the things that will hurt my relationship in the long run. And I want to do it from a place of love. I want to communicate from a place of love. So having that foundation before crisis occurs, yes, that's not going to do anything but benefit your marriage.
The married couples on the line. In your dating, should there be some type of questions, or even Marissa, anyone can answer this. Should there be any type of questions you ask the person you're dating if they're open to any type of therapy, whether it be something wrong or not wrong? Like, how do we start the maintenance? Babe, if we're together, I think we should go to counseling once every 3 months, once every 6 months. Whether things are going right or going wrong. Babe, you told me about a traumatic situation from your childhood, and I see a little certain, do we say, hey, I see a little certain things that may have come from your childhood that's kind of leaking into our relationship. Can we go see and dig and heal that particular type of way? Because yes, we go to church and we pray, but if this habit is still a cycle in the relationship, how do y'all feel about it? Do those conversations need to happen during the dating, or, because we're talking about for better or for worse. And in marriage, we have happy days and we have days where we look to the hills looking for help.
Yeah. I just to piggyback off on that before y'all interject real quick, I think that starts in the dating. Because you have to know that person's willingness to address issues. If you get with somebody in the day and they're like, no, I ain't gonna deal with that. That's who I am. and you got to deal with who I am, and this is what I bring, and that's it, that's all. I'm not dealing with it. What you gonna think when you get what happened when you get married? Like, like, come on now, you got to figure out those things in the dating to see if this person is even willing or not in a defensive state to come to be able to address those issues as they come. Like, they got to have the attitude of, I'm going to reflect on my issues. Can you reflect on your issues? Like, and that has to be identified in the dating before the proposal, before the marriage, this person's willingness to even address those things.
Because people are married to people who do not have a willingness to address or
And
take
what is that gonna
accountability.
do? And what is that going to do? You get married to somebody and they're not even willing or don't have the capability because they might be narcissistic. There's personality disorders and such and so forth. They might be not have the ability to self-reflect in a way that's healthy for the relationship. Like, you got to have some level of self-reflection in order to address particular issues in a relationship. Or you gonna always be defensive when somebody tells you that, hey, the way you wash the dishes and miss the spot, you know, it bothers me because I like my dishes to be clean. You know what I'm saying? I ain't wash no dishes and miss no spot. Like, they always have that stance. What are you going to do with that for the rest of your life? How can you grow with that?
So that is good information. And a reason why I left Willie's comment up here. Hey, Willie, thanks for tuning in. I think where men get scared to open up is because sometimes low blows are brought up in arguments, which makes us completely shut down. I definitely agree with that, because when I wrote the status of divorce, there was a lady said it takes two to work out the divorce. I mean, work out the marriage. But when it comes to divorce, only women care. I know a lot of men that care, that are completely broken when they have their woman come up to them and say, I'm leaving. I believe there's this idea that men don't care about their marriage, they don't care about their family, they don't care about their children. And there are men out here who care about their wives, they care about their family, they doing all they can do to provide. They may not be the Mr. Romance to come through on a stallion with the rose and the wine. They may not be that guy, and that's okay. But if they're showing that they care about you, the pros and the cons, they're a protector, they're a provider. I'm not saying that that's all to it, but like Tamisha said earlier, people are so busy watching social media, watching other relationships. Oh, relationship goals, wanting a rich man. Child, it's just a lot of comparison versus valuing the person you're actually with. And so many people hopping into marriages and hopping out. And I believe that's the reason why I said divorce does not have to be the option, because some of these people are hopping out because, oh, we argue all the time. Oh, he don't make enough money for us. Oh, well, I'm just not attracted to her anymore. I'm not attracted to him anymore. Are these valid reasons why you breaking up your family? Are these valid reasons to break the vows for better or for worse? Oh, we got some more comments, y'all.
Hey, Sister
Okay, Bishop, go ahead.
That's an interesting point you just made. I know for me, and just being transparent, there was a moment, or there was a time when First Lady, we had just had Legend. We had just had Legend, and of course she had to be out on maternity leave, and things were already tight financially within our household with both of us working, and so when she had to be on maternity leave, it was just kind of me. Everything was left on to me. And she said something to me that actually struck a nerve. And that was, I don't trust you to take care of everything that we have financially. And I thought about that, and it actually hurt me, really. I was devastated because ain't nobody ever told me nothing like that before. And I was like, what? And it was to the point where, okay, I need to make a decision, right? And so, do I really take this this offense because I was offended, and I let her know I was offended. But do I take this and allow it to kind of push me out the door, so to speak? Because if you don't trust me to take care of our finances when you're not able to, then you really don't trust me like you should in our marriage. And so, but I had a decision to make, and should I allow that offense to really set root and cause me to drift off, or do I man up and prove to her that I got this, right? And so, and that's what I did. I said, I'm gonna just have to show you that I got this. I'm gonna prove to you that you can trust me, because I'm not gonna allow this circumstance to dictate our happiness. And yes, it's gonna be a challenge. Yes, it's gonna be a struggle, but we're gonna get through this. And believe it or not, we did. And so, and I made that point to say, because of that, we are still together. And now her trust level for me in the area of finances went to another level, because I stood in the paint and said, nah, I got this, right? And I'm not gonna back down. I'm not gonna run away from this, and I'm not gonna allow it to affect our marriage.
And he did. He stepped up and he did it. He handled the thing, because I was like, okay, I can trust him now. If I can say I'm going to trust him with my heart and everything, I have to trust him. And we were still new in our marriage. I have to trust him to lead the family in every aspect. And that was hard for me in the beginning, to let go of being a single woman, thinking like a single woman. Well, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. If I trust this man to be in my house, to be around my kids, to be around me, trust him with my heart, I got to trust him with everything. And when we first got together, I was not very submissive. I was not. Because I've been a single woman for so long. So no, you're not going to tell me what to do. You're not going to this, that, and third, boom, boom, boom. And then he never pushed his, I'm the husband, I'm the leader, I'm the pastor, I'm the this, he never did that. He showed me. And as he showed me he was the man, it enabled me to follow him and be submissive all the way around. Now, before I make any decision, babe, what you think about this? Babe, how you feel about this? What would this affect? How would this affect our house? How would this affect us? And whereas before, I just do it. Now I'm more considerate. And I think it comes with, we as women learning the whole thing about submission. Everybody forces submission in us, but people have to realize we have to have something to submit to before we submit. You want us to submit to this man who's doing nothing. I'm not submitting to that when I'm taking care of everything. When you submit, you got to give us something to submit to, something to respect. Submit as respect comes hand in hand. You submit to something you respect. You submit to someone you respect. And so before we got off, that was one of the things that I'm learning in marriage and growing as a woman. It's okay to let him lead. Even if I'm like, he's totally doing that wrong. But God, I trust you to give him the vision of what we're going to do to lead our family. And I'm thinking, if you'd have went that way, we wouldn't be here. But that's the way he chose to go. So I'm going to follow him that way. And the whole time praying, asking God to lead him in the way we should go. So, yeah.
So under the comments, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. Because people need to hear real marriages having real issues and how they came to a solution. Nobody wants to work. Marriage is work also. It's not just get married and it's a honeymoon all day long. So I pinned the comment up here. If there's unhappiness, no one should be miserable. Happiness is an emotion. It's going to come and it's going to go. It's going to come and it's going to go. It's going to come and it's going to go. But at the end of the day, what is your marriage founded on? What is the foundation of it? So do we get married just to be happy? And wrong. I'm happy by myself single. So I don't know if any one of the other married couples want to tag on in regards to the people who have the, honey, if you're not happy, run. Go ahead.
Yeah, I saw the comment, and I think the bandwagon is what helps people stay in that area. Because if people had, not saying the person who posted it, but in general, if people tackle the stuff that we're talking about now, like communicating from jump, from dating, from like, I recommend, somebody posted, I think it was Will posted earlier, I recommend not only seeing your pastor, because everybody might not be at church, see a therapist, not just a marriage counselor, but no, actually go see a therapist like Miss Marissa, so that you can work out your you as well as what y'all can be. Some people don't even ask their leader, hey, you think I'll be a good, wife? You think I'm ready for that? And be ready for the truth. Because if you tackle that, then a lot of the miserable stuff that you're in, you wouldn't be in it. Because it has to be some self-reflection. Like it can't, if you misery love company. That's what I was told. If you miserable, like you can go get help with or without your partner. You can go get help because you still got to fix you. There's no reason for you to die. And if you get help and you find out, what, hey, like you were saying, ask them questions in the beginning. Hey, in the dating stage, if something's happened, with us, are you willing to go see a counselor? Are you willing to, because sometimes stuff come up, you can be really open with it. It don't have to be like, oh, we going to see a counselor. No, just you can suggest, if something happened, is it okay if we go see a counselor? And you'll find out from there. Oh no, because some people say, oh no, that's, I'm cliche. That's white people stuff. No, that's all people stuff. Like we all need assistance, even when you're in church or not. You still need. I feel like everybody still needs a counselor. Everybody still needs some sort of therapy, because life is a lot in general. And then you got two people that's tackling this thing called life together. And then you got other factors like jobs. People get on your nerves on the job. You got children. You got, all these different personalities in one room or under one roof. And then you got to throw in trying to balance that. And don't be a leader like myself and the Walkers. Then you got to balance that. Plus you got, people that you're covering as well as that. So a lot can happen and a marriage can just dissipate. So some people are miserable because they just keep pushing stuff off and don't get help. A lot of the misery can be fixed if you jump on it early. Just like a fire. If you wait until the whole thing is in flames, yes, now you are both miserable, but if you can tackle it early, because that's a lot of things not communicating, that is like going back to the basics. And you're right, I don't feel like nobody needs to be in an Ike and Tina situation. But if Ike and Tina would have saw a therapist in the beginning, Tina would have knew she wasn't his personality type. She wasn't his love language. She wasn't his, she just liked to sing and she just, but Ike had a whole nother idea.
Agenda.
So yeah, so like if they would have had counselor in the beginning and not just listen to somebody or listen to her reference group, they probably would have never been together. Or they probably would have had something where they could have, let's look at this. Okay, so I know this what you like, and I know, this same old song. Like I know they could have worked that out way earlier, instead of waiting until she busted and all disgusting, eyes swole and need a steak on it. It didn't even have to get that far. A lot of marriages don't even have to get that far if you tackle it in the beginning before you get married. It'd be red flags and people just won't be honest
the whole time.
But let me cut in there right there. Like what your husband said earlier, some people suffer with loneliness that they put up with different things, and now they find themselves unhappy in the long run. But if they really look back at the beginning of a thing, you jumped into this because you was lonely.
And be honest.
And then some people are trying.
Now you want to blame the other person,
right? And then they're trying to get into relationships to heal those unhealed wounds and to heal those loneliness. When you end up getting in a relationship with somebody that's going to increase the trauma because you're having dealt with the stuff to be able to recognize those red flags. How can you recognize the red flags if you ain't dealt with your own red flags?
Come on, we got to deal with our own.
We got to deal with our own so that we can be able to see clearly who we really dealing with, what's really in front of us, so that we won't get into another situation that's evolving and creating more trauma in our lives and getting with people, like they said, because we're lonely. That is, you're lonely. Okay, you need to deal with that. What's causing that loneliness? What's missing? What are you not feeling? Is God not completely? You got a God-filled void that you need to fill? You need to fill that void with God, or come on now, like what's going on? Your relationships, your past traumas. What's going on? Why are we feeling lonely? What's some of the things that we need to address? So it will perpetuate if you do not deal with those traumas. And there's another thing too with codependency. You know, people get in relationships because of codependency issues and relationship. And you know, those they on TikTok they talk a lot about anxious attachment styles and avoidant attachment styles and all these things. That's based off of our childhood trauma. So when you don't deal with those things, you attach people with anxious attachment styles or avoidant attachment styles based off of the type of love or the type of trauma that you received in your childhood, and you wondering why I keep attracting somebody that just is so avoidant, and you get anxious. It's because of that unhealed trauma, that loneliness, that void. That even though I'm a licensed therapist, I'm a woman of God. That God feel void that only God can feel, right? And that you are trying to fill with other things. So you got to deal with it from the.
So I ain't gonna hold y'all up long. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna add this to what Miss Marissa was saying, and some of this stuff can be tackled with our children. Like I teach my daughters how to love themselves. I teach my sons. This is you know, this is society. This is what is expected, and this is what is expected of a king. Like we can take it back to Genesis if you want to take it back, but I try to teach them how to love themselves. Like, okay, I know we go to church, I know, but this, I need you to make sure you know who you are and who you belong to as well. But know who you are. Don't depend on a significant other, because I think we laughed at, I ain't gonna name the child, but one of my kids is like, I ain't gonna learn how to cook because my spouse cooking. I would say, you will be hungry every time he or she get mad. You gonna be hungry. And you don't want to be dependent. Like, no, you need to know what if something happened and your spouse gets sick? What if something happened? Like, that's not good. What if something happened, you know? And the same thing with questions. I know a lot of marriages break up because sometimes family have to move in. Them questions you need to ask. Like, they can deal with you, but I ain't say your mama could move in. Like, you know, like you gotta really tackle those issues. My mama get, you know, dementia, something, anything happen. I need you to be okay, because you know, I'm gonna be honest, some of us be like, now let me tell you, I know we together, but my mama, let me tell you, my mama coming up in this house. We gonna take care of mama, you know, but that's questions that you have to ask because now you're married. So now you gotta go all the way back to the drawing board. Like, you know, this is what the Bible says, this is what, you know, you gotta work that whole thing, but you can fix it if you teach them while they're young how they should conduct themselves in relationships. You can prevent a lot of heartache with them. Yes, they still have their own walk, but there's some stuff, it's some valleys and some stuff they don't even have to worry about coming to. Some therapy sessions. I teach mine. Y'all go to therapy because you may need it. You don't know. Love yourself first, because you'll know when you meet somebody who don't love themselves and they're looking for another mom or they're looking for another dad instead of looking for a spouse. Like they just want to be married. They don't want to be a husband. Or they don't want to be a wife. They have this cliche of what a marriage is. I don't have to worry about it because she's going to do the laundry. She gonna
run away from responsibility.
And it's like, what happens if we together and I get in a car accident and I can't do nothing? And now you done put your whole idea of marriage on this. And then now you miserable because you didn't expect her to get in a car accident or you didn't expect him to get in a car accident. It's like, make sure, like you said, that we attack these issues, not just in dating, but as parents try to teach our kids how to, you know, before they even get to the dating. I sent my kids this list of 300 questions you ask somebody before you even get to courting. Like, it's 300 questions that you ask somebody that you potentially want to take things further with. And they was like, you want to ask this kind of question? And one of them was, are you willing to get therapy? Or if my sister gets sick, if this happens, if I lose my job, are you afraid of a woman being a boss? A CEO? Are you afraid of, you know, a male? Do you support polygamy? Do you, you know, it's a whole bunch of questions. I'm gonna send them to you, Shop. But
okay, we need
and
to
then to
about 300 questions.
And at first there was like 300. I was like, let me take them 300 questions to save your life. If you plan on getting married, you better ask these because there's gonna be 300 reasons why you're down there. Because the court system, it might be like $100 some to get married, but I promise you, it's about 3 times that to get a divorce. So it will save you from heartache. It'll save you from spending money with a therapist because you got to take care of the aftermath when you could have just took care of it in the beginning and made sure that you saw those red flags. And don't be afraid when people try to tell you something. Don't feel like they're trying to come at your relationship. They might see something that you don't see because your nose is a little wide open. So don't be afraid, to take, advice from people. Just take it and pray about it.
And with that note, we're going to wrap up this live. Listen, we've been on an hour. But Willie, we've been on an hour and a half. We got to do a whole nother live. We got to do a part 2 on this. I understand you guys. I ain't forget your question. Your question was up here a little bit. But we got to have one specifically for men. We got to have the men on to talk to the men. And I think there's a lot of things we got to debunk, about how people feel that men are. There are a lot of men that care. There are a lot of men that understand. There are a lot of men that want to work out their marriages. It's sometimes women believing and thinking that because they aren't as emotional, they don't fall out and yell and argue in the same manner that they do. It means that that's not the truth. That's really not the truth. But anyhow, we're gonna wrap this live up. Aaron said yes, keep doing these. Someone earlier, yes, part 2 is needed. We got you, Dominique. We got you. I'll talk to them later. We gonna work it out. But listen, thank you all for tuning in. I hope this answered any questions, debunked any type of myths you guys believed and concerning marriage. Again, this live was for the believer. This is for the believer, the one who believes in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. So if there's any other questions y'all have, inbox me, Sha Speaks, so we can get to this live next time. Listen, I thank you all for tuning in. Y'all be blessed and good night.